What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, traders? Jordan the Maestro. We're back with another video. Let's get into things. So far the market has moved, y'all. The market has really been moving this week. Some very big moves, and we are going to break them down. Specifically, we're going to talk about how I caught this news trade and how you also could have caught the news trade and how to trade news overall. That's really the point of this video. Let's get right into it. So at the start of the week, we had gold that was at this major support area over here. So if we take a look, many touches to this area of support, broke it once, but came right back and showed massive respect to this area over here. So what I knew and what I also told members and students in my free Telegram group is that if gold were to break this level of support, it is a very strong confluence that we are definitely going to at least get from one zone to another, but also very likely we'll get beyond just this zone to this zone. Usually going to give you a very decent drop after it breaks a major zone. Okay, so whether it's breaking a major resistance, whether it's breaking a major support, once it finally breaks it, you should get a nice drop. Okay, and that's what we got here. All right, so if we look, once it broke, I was able to capitalize on this trade over here. Once it broke, got in on the retest, caught my 40 pips, but this trade went all the way down for 150 pips. Okay, so definitely opportunity there. But if you take a look at where it came down to a very important area. Okay, why is this area important? We'll see its significance more so on a higher time frame. So if we go on the daily time frame, show you here on the daily time frame over here. So this zone that it came down to, this area of support that it came down to, came all the way down to this area, right? Came all the way down to this area over here. This area, take a look, all right? So maybe a week ago in our past outlook, we said over here, this area was the previous low for price. Okay, before all of this happened here, we said this was the previous low for price. So long as on a higher time frame, price does not break this area, the up move is still valid, and we can continue trekking on till we get to 2000. And if we really paid attention here, then we would have seen that this area would have been a very strong support. So once price came and touched this area, literally bounced off of it, was not able to break through that area whatsoever, and it was able to bounce all the way back up. Okay, and that is where I caught my second move of the week for the buy. Okay, so it came to this area. I knew on a very high time frame perspective that we were going to bounce. We're more than likely going to bounce off this area, at the least for a retest if we're going to go back down, but very likely that we was going to bounce off this area and it would give it some trouble to break. Okay, and that we did. So once we came off the area, it gave me a few touches to that area, started wicking down, so we saw less volume when it came to this area. There was a lot of buyer pressure, so we could see the wicks around the support area, and then we took off for the buy. Okay, very easy buy, gave us our entry, and we were able to take another 40 to 50 pips. This move over here not only was it an opportunity for those who are breakout traders, right, or break and retest traders, it was also an opportunity for swing traders, traders who are looking for a specific structure, right? Should have fit in for a lot of traders to capitalize on this trade. It just so happened to line up with news. Okay, so if you can recall, if you watched my video on how the market moves, then we would see that this was one strong impulsive move upwards. This was the retest to that move. Okay, and notice how the retest is at this very strong zone over here again. Okay, and that would give you an indication that technically speaking, we are gearing up for a big buy. And I did mention that I'm waiting for gold to give us more than likely a big buy in my Instagram story. Okay, so as news was coming in, we were able to capitalize on this big buy. But here's the thing, when trading news, and this is what I tell to my students, when you're trading news, you really don't want to trade on the initial release. So we had two separate events. We had some news at 10 a.m. today, and we also had some news at 2 p.m. And when the news came in, if we take a look here, we're going to take a look at the 10 a.m. news, right? So when the news came in over here at 10 a.m., notice how price came and wicked all the way down to this level of support and came all the way back up right before it closed. Okay, so this candle over here came all the way down before it wicked all the way back up to that level of resistance over here, up top over here. Okay, so with that particular move, if you were trading news and you saw the price dropping, and immediately while price was dropping, you decided to take a sell, more than likely you're going to want to hold the sell for just a little bit. But what immediately happened is that the candle retraced backwards and you would have been in drawdown. And for that whole 30 minutes to even an hour, really, the candle was just bouncing up and down, up and down. And that is usually a recipe for traders to blow their accounts when that happens. Okay, so with news trades, you need to be very careful. It's always good practice, in my opinion, to avoid news overall. But if you're going to trade news in any fashion, you want to trade around news. Okay, and when I say around news, not even necessarily before news. Sometimes you trade before news. And so for example, if we have interest rates that are going to be announced, and then you're going to have a press conference by the Fed chair following, what usually, or what can most likely happen, is that you'll get a directional move, right? You'll get a move to the downside once the interest rates come out. And then when the Fed chair starts to speak and maybe talks in a different direction than what the actual results were, then you'll get the move to the opposite side, right? All of these are recipes for traders to blow their accounts. Okay, a lot of traders, and I feel pretty confident saying most traders, usually are going to blow their accounts during news releases. Okay, so you want to make sure that when the news release happens, be calm. If possible, don't even be on the charts. Okay, and when you do gain some experience, when you are on the charts, you want to allow the news to happen, let the market react. Things are going to happen. Listen, the market is going to continue to move beyond the first minute or two that news was released. Okay, so just let the market react, see what it's doing, and then after all of that news is out, then you want to be able to see what opportunities are there. Now, what happened today specifically is that at 2 p.m., once the interest rates came out, that they'd be raising interest rates as expected, we had the release. And this candle over here started trending downwards. Okay, so interest rates are going up. So typically we would expect the dollar to be strong and gold to be weak. Okay, so I know a lot of traders came in expecting that gold would give a big drop, but it didn't give the drop as expected. And again, although you're looking at the candle right now, but the candle in itself doesn't give the full story of what goes on in the real market at real time frames, right? During the live market, while we are trading live, this candle is moving so fast and traders are trying to figure out what to do, right? And if you just look at the news, then you're going to think to yourself, okay, so the news was negative, or the news was positive for the dollar, so gold should drop and the dollar is going to go up, so let me take this sell over here. And in reality, because of the volatility and the movement of this candle, and because it's not necessarily dropping all the way down, you're going to close, you're going to re-enter, close, re-enter, and you're going to end up really messing up your account, losing a lot of money, if not blowing your account. Instead, I understood that it was very important, just as important as it was to understand what the interest rates were. It's just as important to hear what the Fed chair was going to say. Okay. And after he spoke, after the Fed chair spoke, it was very clear which direction the market wanted to take, right? So technically this move lined up, all right? So technically there's already a bias that there's going to be a potential buy, but fundamentally it did not line up at first. That's going to be a trap for many traders. All right, you think you're gonna just go by technicals, but fundamentals come out and tells you that technically the dollar should be strong right now, and you're thinking, okay, let me just sell, and you get caught up. So you have to understand with news, news is its own beast in of itself, right? News and how the market reacts to news. You have to learn that over time and just observe that over time. Just so happens that over time I realized, again, when it comes to interest rates, let those interest rate numbers come out. Afterwards, you can take advantage by listening to the press conference. After the press conference, right? Or even at some point in the press conference, it should be clear which direction a trade is going to be going. Okay. Once that was clear, I was able to take this buy once it broke through this area. So I took my buy at 1934 on the dot. Okay. 1934 on the dot, took my buy, and I rode that up for 100 pips. Okay. Very, very good trade. Rode that all the way up to 1945. Very great trade. I had a feeling it would go to 1950, but I was more than satisfied with 100 pips. So, but that was it. That was it because, again, like we said, technicals lined up. All I needed to know was what were the fundamentals and what was the full picture of the fundamentals, right? The full picture. So once I got the full picture of the fundamentals, not only the numbers for the interest rates, but also when it came down to what the Fed chair was talking about, then it was very clear. Market chose a direction. My alert was hit and we entered our trade. Okay. So again, and this goes for any news event. Okay, whether it be interest rates that are coming out, whether it be NFP and job reports, things of that nature, you don't want to rush in on the initial release of that news. And guess what? If there are going to be some cases where the initial release of that news and the initial move is the move, there are going to be cases where that just is the move. But it is still better practice by far. It is better practice that we just wait just a little bit and not react to the initial move. Because over time, you'll realize that you're going to lose more trades than win if you go about just acting on that initial release. Okay. Many people in the market don't know what's happening. So you're going to get a lot of people who are selling, a lot of people who are buying, and that can really cause a lot of wicking downwards, a lot of wicking upwards. And you get to a situation where you get wicked out of your stop loss, or you're over leveraged and you don't know when to close. And you're trying to figure out, should I close here? Okay, I'll close at negative 1,000. Okay. And then you're at negative 1,100. And then you're just like, ah, man, all right, I'll close. If it goes to, it won't go to 1,300. It's going to go back in my favor. And then you get down 1,300 and then you're thinking, damn, I wish I closed at negative 1,000. And this is the cycle until the market eats up all of your money and you end up with a very severely drained account, if not a blown account. Okay. The market has no heart, no cares for you, doesn't care who died, doesn't care how motivated you are, doesn't care how much you've been working, does not care about your bills, does not care about your problems. You have to care enough to be responsible enough to trade safely, to trade wisely, and to make sure that you are very prepared before you enter your trades and before you enter certain situations in the market. Okay. So again, very important when trading news, guys, please, please, please take precaution. Wait. Patience is always going to be your best friend when it comes to news. Allow traders to react, allow the market to move, let it react. After everything is out, then you want to patiently just wait for the market to come to you, find that opportunity to enter, and then you take your trade. Again, you don't over leverage, especially with news. Never, never, never over leverage. Okay. Again, you don't want to over leverage. Never, never over leverage. You make sure you take a decent lot size that is not going to blow your account, and then you can enter your trade. Okay. And then another tip is that sometimes you don't want to trade news with the same account that you usually trade with, right? You want to have separate accounts for separate situations sometimes. Okay. So you may have an account where you're very conservative with and you follow a certain risk plan. And then there's an account where you're kind of risky with, and that account can be the account that you're willing to trade news with. Okay. It's very good practice to separate those accounts so that you don't put all of your capital at risk. Okay. So really try to do these things. Okay, if you are going to trade news, make sure you just try to trade around it. All right, make sure you are patient and make sure you understand how to apply, not just taking it in, not just hearing it, but make sure you understand how to apply these things when it comes to real live market conditions. Okay, all right, so trade safely, y'all. There's plenty of moves to come for the rest of the week, I'm sure. But don't rush anything. If you made your goal for the week, then you are all good. And if you haven't made your goal for the week, don't try to make it all in one trade. Be patient, let the market come to you, and you'll be just fine. All right, y'all. Take care. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.